your snout. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose as you begin to decompose. A slimy beetle with demon's eyes chews through your stomach and out your sides. Your stomach turns to rancid grease and pus pours out like melted cheese. You spread it on a slice of bread, and that's what you'll eat when you're dead. And the worms crawl out, the worms crawl in. The worms that crawl in are lean and thin. The ones that crawl out are fat and stout. Your eyes fall in and your hair falls out. Your brain turns into maggot pie. Your liver starts to liquefy. And for the living all is well as you sink further into hell. And the flames rise up to drag you down into the fire where you will drown. Your skin melts off as you descend, and Satan tears you limb from limb. Your suffering will never end. And the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. They'll eat your guts and then shit them out. And when your bones begin to rot, the worms remain, but you do not. So don't ever laugh as a hearse goes by, for someday you'll be the one to die. And when death brings his cold despair, ask yourself, will anyone care?
Alright guys, how we doing tonight? Here for some Halloween talk. What's going on, Play? What's going on, Gabe? What's going on, Nicholas? Now this is a different stream. What's going on, Garrett? What's going on, Nightmare? We are talking about Blumhouse's Halloween. And ultimately, in general, how you guys thought of it. I know my thoughts on it have been pretty much all over the channel. So you guys know how I feel about it. But before we get started, let me just grab something real quick. All right. Alright, so we got Nightmares that says he doesn't like Halloween. With any particular reason, or just not your cup of tea? 2 streams, yeah. I wasn't into playing the game earlier, so figure, you know what? Let's hit it again. Let's do the Halloween talk. And ultimately, how you guys feel about the Blumhouse timeline, especially the separation of timelines. Because now with the Halloween 2018 timeline, we now have the original Halloween timeline. We have the H2O timeline. We have the Rob Zombie timeline. And then we have the Blumhouse timeline. So exactly, how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you like it? Do you like the new timeline? Do you like being able to cut off bad parts of the series and restart? Do you like the whole do-over idea? Well, especially with the new Halloween movie, Nightmare, what I'd probably say do is watch the first one, 1978, and then watch 2018. Garrett says it was definitely worth going back to the roots of the original with this one. Ranger says, I lived it. Don't forget the Season of the Witch timeline. Yes, the Season of the Witch timeline does stand out as its own thing. It's its own world. There's, aside from the commercial that shows the events of Halloween as a movie itself, I don't think there's really any references to Halloween at all in Halloween 3. Because, I mean, it was to be an anthology film. So, with that, it was pretty much along the lines of the Michael Myers story, I don't think exists in the Halloween universe as it ultimately became from Halloween 1 to Halloween 6. Or even Halloween 1 and 2 at the time Halloween 3 was made. I don't even think at that point it was to be integrated into one world. Hey, what's going on, Harboy? How you doing? As you see, we are talking some Halloween. I even set up the green screen background. Got the poster up. Got some burning embers going all around. Figure if I was going to do this, let's do it all. Let's go all out. Let's see what we can do creativity-wise. Speaking of Halloween 3, I'm thinking of getting the NECA figures. Are they actually out yet? Or are they still in pre-order? Alright, Gabe pretty much says, yeah, all positives across the board for me. Although some aspects of Halloween 2018 require me to stretch my imagination. Hee hee. Well, I even threw the hee hee in there. I read the hee hee. Trap basement. I only wish that they could sneak Danielle Harris in somehow. Which is an interesting aspect in itself. The trap basement, I didn't mind the trap basement. I did not like... I got with the whole Laurie and Michael facing off, and when Laurie disappeared after being tossed off the balcony, I got that. That was pretty cool. When she appears behind Michael, like Michael did with her in 1978, and she gives the line, you know, Happy Halloween, Michael, and tries to stab him, that I could have did without. That was utter cheese to the furthest degree, and kind of was cringeworthy when she did that. As far as Danielle Harris, I still think, because now we're talking about a new timeline, Danielle Harris not only could be put into this universe, she could be put in as Jamie Lloyd. She just doesn't have to be related to Laurie Strode. She doesn't have to be Laurie's daughter. She doesn't have to be related to the Strodes in any sense of the word. She could be the Blumhouse version of Jamie Lloyd. Almost like a version of how they have with comic book characters. You have like different versions of Spider-Man, different versions of Batman that are different characters. And sometimes, depending on the universe, that character might be related to this character. Or that character may not have any relation to that character. I think with Halloween and the Blumhouse world that they're setting up, you could do the same thing with Danielle Harris, giving her the Jamie Lloyd character back, but not having her be the daughter or cousin, fucking family member or anything like that to Laurie Strode. Because again, to me, that shrinks the world. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's related to each other. I don't want that. I think making her Jamie Lloyd, and after Halloween ends, if they still want to use Michael Myers more after that, or Michael Myers becomes a flat-out supernatural entity, the next storyline could be a new version of the Jamie Lloyd storyline, just having no relation to Laurie or the Strode family. Oh, you said they are out. Okay. I'll have to check those out. Might have to add them to my my collection. But I do got something already on pre-order. I never said what it was, but I'll definitely be reviewing it when it comes in. If it comes in. You never know with this whole pandemic thing, how things in production might get pushed. Halloween Kills, I'm definitely hyped. And I am definitely going to give it a fair shot. I hope they fix things from the 2018 film. I mean, I'm hyped for Halloween Kill. You know how I feel about it, Hardboy. I love Halloween 2018. I know you had some issues with it, which if you want, feel free to voice those opinions in the chat. and pretty much we can actually talk about those right here, right now, and so forth. But I mean, the whole thing that I do remember hearing a good portion of from multiple people is how the guys are portrayed in the movie and how they are deeply put in a negative light. I do want to push back against that a bit because, trust me, you have not seen the pinnacle of that. Watch the newest Black Christmas. You will see the pinnacle of that. You will appreciate Halloween 2018. Now, given how kids act today and the whole spring break thing with the whole pandemic going on, the whole spring break thing is very indicative of how kids act, or at least how in stereotypical fashion how they act. Apply that to Halloween 2018, they're pretty dead on. They're pretty dead set. The girls pretty much act how you would expect. Obviously, Allison needs to portray a certain version of a character because of where they're leading that character. The guys, however, they do have a bit of dickish personalities. And I believe that's by design. Mostly due to how the writers depict the kids and how they see kids in real life. I thought it was a pretty fair representation. Wasn't exactly anything social commentary or anything, I guess you could say man-hating or anything like that. I don't think it was anything like that. Maybe they could continue after all this with a new line of films and make Jamie Lloyd the killer. I actually did say something about that, Gabe, before in the Halloween forums. Like making Jamie Lloyd a killer who stabbed her stepmother with the scissors. Referencing Halloween 4. Giving her still that kind of origin. Just taking Michael out of the equation. And having her escape her mental asylum. A la Michael. And becoming the new Shape. Oh, what's going on, Haley? Yeah, Black Christmas was... It was so... I could turn this into a Black Christmas stream. I don't want to. I want to try to refrain from that because we're talking Halloween. But Black Christmas, how they wrote those characters, whoever wrote that script and the dialogue for those characters should never get work in Hollywood again. That's how bad that is. And I'm very, as I even said on your stream, Horror Boy, I am very forgiving of a great deal of things in horror movies. But every line when it was a female talking to a male character was so fucking cringeworthy that it absolutely takes you out of the entire movie. Don't even think about like the entire aspect that this is not Black Christmas at all. This just took the sorority aspect of Black Christmas, but it did not take the entire premise or just the overall urban legend that it's kind of based around. It didn't touch on any of that. It was its own original story that ultimately was used as a social justice warrior kind of propaganda movie, and it was very cringeworthy. Hey, what's going on, King Boyka? How you doing? Welcome. I'm new to your stream. Well, I am glad you are here, my friend. Feel free to chat. We're talking about Halloween, the Blumhouse timeline of Halloween. So feel free to drop your 2 cents if you have any kind of way that you feel about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you excited for Halloween Kills? Are you excited for Halloween Ends? Come at me. Let me see. Let me see what you got. Horror Boy says, I didn't hate the 2018 film at all. I just wish it could have focused more on suspense and atmosphere. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And the whole thing with that was 1978 very much focused on suspense and atmosphere. That is kind of due to the low budget that they had. They couldn't go exactly all out. So they had to rely on building up tension and just overall Michael as a character. So you couldn't give him the huge body count. That was out of the equation. Granted, most slasher movies prior to Halloween didn't really have that big of a body count. So it wasn't like they were trying to pioneer that anyways. But in a post Friday the 13th world, even this far removed from Friday the 13th's release, Halloween 2018 kind of jumped on that body count ship. And ultimately, if you would have taken Michael's mask off and put a hockey mask on, the way Michael presents himself is very, 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 very similar to Jason. Where pretty much, I guess it kind of, because people say that, Jason's movies copied Halloween, and now Halloween movies are kind of copying the Jason movies. And I think that's what drew me a lot to Halloween 2018, was how similar to the Friday the 13th films that I used to love, like especially 1 through 5 before Undead Jason rose and it got a little bit too OP on Jason's part. But Halloween 1 through Friday the 13th 1 through 5 kind of gave us a modern day take on that, and I think that's why it ends so well. Even the trailer where Michael's grabbing Laurie through the door, that just reminded me of something that Jason would do. And considering that we don't have a new Friday the 13th movie coming anytime soon because of the whole copyright thing, I think that's what kind of drove me more to it. Now, all the things that they did, like the intro when the pumpkin was inflating from being like rotten, I love that. I love the symbolism of that. Especially because you look at the symbolism, like the series has gotten rotten. The series has gotten a bit stale, and they have taken it in every single avenue aside from taking Michael to space, and it just completely rotted the series. And now 2018 is kind of revitalizing that, taking all of that away and taking things back to the basics, and even giving us the original pumpkin at the beginning. The symbolism of that spoke volumes to me when I first saw it in the theaters. You guys are just two yucky dumpsters. Yeah, I mean, the dialogue is, in some areas with that game, it can get a bit, like, do kids talk like this? But then I hear kids. I hear some of the kids, not kids, but college students that come into the restaurant I work at, and some people that even work talk like that. So then it made me think, you know what? I can kind of see where I'm from. But the Cult of Thorn makes an appearance in the... Will the Cult of Thorn make an appearance in the next Halloween films? Nicholas says. I highly doubt it. I do not think so. I think the Cult of Thorn, if they do appearance, it's own. Ranger says you got to have characters you want to die. I disagree, Ranger. I greatly disagree. Mostly due to look at the Friday the 13th reboot. All of those characters were highly unlikable, aside from maybe 2 or 3. To me, as a slasher fan, it elicits a response. A good response that a horror movie should from its audience were extremely likable. And when you saw them die, granted a lot of them were fodder, but when you saw them die, it was like, oh. Or some of them had a tragic story even going on and ended up getting killed. Like the